All right, we're live here and be introducing you to the one and only Tim Brennan. And we have Tim of Jobtimize coming to you. We'll be right back in about 38 seconds. All right, we're live. My name is Jamie J, and I am the CEO and founder of Bottleneck Virtual Assistants, but that is not why we're here today. We are here today so you can learn other ways of stopping the bottleneck in your business. And we're going to be talking today with Tim Brennan. And we're going to be talking about finding your next right thing with Jobtimize. Let me give you a little bit of a background on Tim, and then we'll bring him on. And Tim inspires organizations to change their hiring process so they can get better results through the use of assessment tools. I love that. With more than 25 years of business management and human resources experience, Tim has become known for delivering bold, fresh ideas to executives, managers, and human resource professionals on how they can find, hire, and keep the right people to improve their bottom line. I absolutely love this. As you know, or maybe you don't know, one of the facts that I found in Glassdoor was the average cost in the U.S. to hire somebody is $4,129. Any idea how much it costs to fire somebody? Up to 9 months' salary. It's crazy. So without any further ado, please allow me to introduce you to the one and only Tim Brennan. How are you, sir?
Oh, wow. What an entry. I just realized there, Jamie, I got to get the marketing people to update that photo.
I love that photo. I think it's fantastic.
I mean, there's going to be people going, is that the same guy? Is that his dad that just came on?
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, I wonder if maybe for those of the people in my audience that don't know who Tim Brennan is, I wonder if we can tell them a little background, maybe share a story or two, and then we could jump into talk about Jobtimize and finding your next right thing.
All right. Well, look, one of the things is that we could talk all day just about this topic. I know we got about 20 minutes, so I'll give you the really short version for those who aren't familiar. Hi, my name's Tim Brennan. I am the Chief Visionary Officer at Fit First Technologies. And the name of the company comes from the work that we do and our true belief and our philosophy on how fit matters in business. And it matters as well for people who are working and have careers. The fits for everyone. But I want you to think about it, is in your business, you know, when you put people into your yes, no, maybe piles when you're hiring somebody, what happens is you usually put them there by education and work experience, looking through resumes. What our true belief is, we want to be able to put people into the yes, no, maybe piles for you by fit first, then look at education and work experience. Because you know what, if you can have all the other stuff you want, but if the fit's not there, things just don't work as well. And that's my background. I was in corporate, hired lots of people, got it right half the time, didn't know why. They all had the right education, they all had the right work experience. But you know what? It always ended up being the fit with the job, the fit with the manager, the fit with the team. And then, of course, eventually fit with the organization. So Jamie, there's your really short version of who we are and what we do. And I'm a little bit obsessed with fit.
I love it. I love being fit. I love fitting things into the, round hole, square peg, all that kind of stuff. This is a big challenge. And for us, especially for us, we're a virtual staffing agency of sorts.
Oh, that's right.
And so over the course of the last 14 years, I've had the pleasure and sometimes displeasure of hiring over 1,000 people. And so I can, from firsthand experience, just be empathetic toward what it is that you're doing. And you're right. we feel like, man, our vetting process is so good, and still sometimes people slip through the cracks, and it's so expensive to mishire. And I wonder, go ahead.
I was going to say, Jenny, I said you'd be a real interesting one. The talk at some point too about what's it like now to have remote workers and virtual workers, because one of the things, Jamie, that we're seeing that's happening right now with this huge shift to remote now being respectable and acceptable as a work structure is that the things about the who they are become even more important than the how they act. So when they're not, working with an environment, all of a sudden the ability to be able to communicate has changed. The role of how they interact with individuals has changed. So, you've got probably a whole history of understanding a little more about virtual when you've got virtual assistants.
Yeah, I sourced my first virtual assistant from the Philippines in 2006. And I was deathly afraid of what that experience was going to entail. I'd never experienced it before. And thankfully, I just sucked it up and said, I'm going to do it. I pretty much pushed the button and I said, let's go. And it's been an eye-opener. And for sure, all the stuff we've learned, oh my gosh, it's been crazy. And someone commented the other day, they said, Jamie's been social distancing before social distancing was a thing.
Well, it's really interesting. When you think about the traditional hiring system and the way most people do their hiring, if you go and ask companies, how do you decide? Well, they start out with the first thing is the person showed up with a kick-ass resume, whatever that means to them, right? They really like it when a person shows up on time for an interview, or they showed up early and they presented well, or that they did their homework and they had come prepared and knew what was expected at the job. And then when they were at the interview, they asked really good questions. Then when the interview was over, what they found was that the person that they really liked was someone who followed up because they were really showing initiative and showing an eagerness to want to do it. And I've described out this process and that this person looks like over and over again in front of groups of recruiters and HR professionals and business owners. And what they all say is, wow, I wish every candidate looked like that. Funny thing is, go back to the same situation, go back to the same companies, and then go and say, hey, who are the people in your business that are stars? Those people you wish you could have a basket full of. And then who are those people who over time became passengers in your business? The ones that they're okay, all right, but they're no longer in your stars. And then, of course, there's the ones that you wish you could throw back in a basket. So you look at these levels of different people and you go and say, what do these people have in common when we hired them? Well, guess what? They all had the education you were looking for. They all had the same work experience you were looking for. What ended up making them different wasn't the things we were using to filter, or else we would never have hired them all. We would have only hired stars. So what is it that we need to find that's different? And I got 7 things, but I'm going to give you 3 things, Jamie, that everyone that's on your webcast right now, these are 3 things that they can go and measure for right now. Number 1, every time I look at an organization, I look at who are their stars and what do the stars have different than passengers. Number 1 is they learn quickly and don't get bogged down with the wrong details. It doesn't mean they're really smart. They might have lots of knowledge. That's not the point. But what it is when you give them information and when you communicate, they receive the way you communicate. You've got fit there, cognitive fit. Okay. Number 2 is they take personal accountability or responsibility for their own actions. It's really amazing. The people who are the ones who take responsibility. If you're out there and you've got training going on, you got workshops, or you got webinars where you can become a better salesperson, your top performers are the first people to sign up for that stuff. The top people don't blame the customer, don't blame the product, don't blame a virus at the moment for killing their business. The top performers are going, okay, what do I need to do to pivot? How do I take responsibility for what I need to do? Oddly enough, the poor performers, your passengers in your business, they're actually blaming everyone else for why things aren't happening, and this sort of becomes their personal coat of arms. The third one is, and now I'm a maritime or East Coast Canadian guy, so don't hold that against me, but I think everyone has to have a sense of humor. Now, That doesn't mean you need to be funny. It means you need to know who you are and use the who you are to diffuse stress and conflict with others while gaining the commitment to them. So, think about it. Anytime you've had a situation where something accelerates into a bad place, whether it be an alleged sexual assault or in an office at that level, the person who's always the alleged perpetrator always says, "Oh, I just thought I was trying to be funny." The poor performers don't know how to use humor appropriately, and they actually fuel. Not only do they fuel a whole bunch of conflicts and stress, but it also adds into this whole piece of unconscious bias that goes on. So, funny thing, hey, those 3 things, Jamie, not one of them's in a resume.
Oh, wow. Isn't that the case? Right? And by the way, Raina, my assistant, said to say hello. She's excited to see you here. And so I do want to take a quick opportunity to say, if you have any questions for Tim, please feel free, no matter if you're on Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter, YouTube, ask away. I'd love to make sure that Tim gets those questions. If you're seeing this evergreen or in a replay scenario and you do have a question for Tim, ask it in the comment section. I'll make sure to forward it to Tim so he can answer that question for you. So with those 3 things, Tim, that you just talked about, can you give a quick recap, 1, 2, and 3?
Sure. Learns quickly, doesn't get bogged down with the wrong details, takes personal accountability or responsibility for their own actions, and has a sense of humor and knows how to use it appropriately in the workplace to diffuse stress and conflict while gaining the commitment of others.
I love that. You know what's neat about that? Here's one of the challenges I found too, is I get this from a lot of my clients. I'm too busy to really go about hiring or training, finding. Jamie, just find me a rock star. Find me somebody that can do this job. What do you say to that?
Oh my gosh, Jamie. So you know what? I get that every day. So what are you looking for? Well, I'm looking for a good hard worker. Okay. I says, it's a lot like my wife sending me to the grocery store to buy mayonnaise. You ever had to do that? So my wife says, I want you to buy mayonnaise. I go to the store and I find they got these really big, giant, jumbo-sized jars, and it's a best deal on the shelf. I take it home and my wife says to me, you know what? That's not going to fit on our shelf. What were you thinking? Oh, new piece of information. So then I go back to the store. I bring it back another jar. She tells me, you know what, Tim, wrong brand. Okay, so now a new piece of information. And then I come back and she goes, what, didn't you check the expiry date? There's no way we're going to use it all by that date. Oh, a new piece of information. It's really amazing is if I just got all the information that mattered first before I went and bought the jar of mayonnaise, I could have done it in one trip. Yeah. Same thing happens in hiring. It's about measuring what matters. Right? And right now, I've got it. So let's take the situation right now we're dealing with what's happening around us all around the world. And there's a whole new thing that's happening in the workplace. You know what? I need to find people right now who are really going to have high levels of integrity, reliability, and work ethic, because I need people who are going to play by the rules and keep my office safe. But I don't just need them to play with the rules at work. I need to have them play the rules when they're not at work, so they don't bring anything into the office or bring it into the store or bring it into my dental clinic. So I now need people who are really going to have high levels of conscientiousness, who are going to be paying attention, and it's going to matter, and they're going to be high in manageability. Now, all these things, these are like my mayonnaise jar.
Yeah. Well, right? You think about it too. If someone says, I just want a rock star, my perception of what a rock star is could be very different than his, because I don't have all those pieces of information.
Well, and you're putting them into a different environment, because you know what? There's fit with the job, there's fit with the manager, you and that person, them and that person, and then there's fit with the team. It's funny, when you don't have fit with the team is when someone doesn't show up for work and everyone's happy.
Oh. Yeah, that's a sign,
right? And you don't have fit. I know you don't have fit with the team, and you're glad someone else didn't show up.
Oh, yeah. So what do you say to that person that says that?
You know, it's
What's
interesting.
your response?
It fits a responsibility of everyone, right? So I got a couple things, and actually I've got for your viewers and listeners, I got some free stuff for you.
I love it.
So one of them right now, if you want to find out what the right fit for you as a person is, so you want to find out what you want to be when you grow up. So right now you might be in a position where there's 40 million people out there right now in America who are not working. So they and not all of them are going back. So, you know, some people are going to have to start thinking about where they're going next. And so we've opened up for free our website at www.jobtimeyes.com, where you can go online, build a profile. You can mark in what you know, mark in what you do. You then can go and complete a 25 data point behavioral assessment for free, and then do an occupational interest, like building a dating profile. It'll then cross-reference you against 1,250 different careers and show you where you'd be a good fit and why you might be challenged in others. And if you want to go further, it'll even link you to employers who are looking for people in those jobs in your community.
Wow. So is this something you developed?
Well, yeah, you're actually talking to the Tim in JobTimize.
That's fantastic. How did you learn about all this?
Well, you know what? We've been doing this for 22 years. And one of the things that we do is we surround ourselves with a lot of great people and a lot of great organizations that have given us a lot of data. So we've been working with helping people figure out how to measure what matters for a long time. But what's happened is the technology has finally caught up to our values and our belief system, because we truly believe that valuing and everything is about fit. If you fit this kind of work, I'm going to be more than happy to invest in you, give you training, and give you the opportunity to get the experience, because there's a high probability you're going to stay. And me as an employer, I'm going to get a great ROI on that investment in training. You know, the one of the things they always used to say, the old adage, right? You know, the worst thing about having somebody come in and get trained and leave, the worst thing was having them not get trained and stayed. Well, you know what the bad one too is? Having them get trained and stay, but they hate their job.
You know, so being able to measure your fit, or being able to demonstrate what a good fit would be, that, in my opinion, equates to an unbelievable culture. It shortens that learning curve in hiring, because I have to tell you, that's one of the scariest things in any organization, and happens to be, I would say that the highest overhead is staff in any organization.
Well, after cost of goods sold in many organizations, payroll is the second largest line item.
It's insane.
Right? It is the second largest line item, and and people who can be more efficient and more productive and enjoy their work more are going to be happier. And it all goes through the whole system. But you said something really interesting there, Jamie. I want to kind of grab on something you just said. And, you know, the whole idea, but if you can define the culture and the fit, most people can't. We end up helping a lot of people use our tools to find out, okay, well, what is a good fit for me? And usually where you start is with self. Right? The business owner needs to go and understand, who am I? And there's a big difference between the who am I and the how I act. And there's lots of tools out there, a lot of fun games out there that are all about the how you act tools.
Yeah, well, what is that called? Where it's like you get two different scores. One is who you really are, and one is how you are in front of others, or something like that. What is that called?
Yeah, and well, there's a whole slew. There's like 5,000 different ways to go. But if you really just take it down to, there's the who you are and there's the how you act. If you and I are going to work and we're pretending to be someone we're not all day, it's like we've got a big stick in front of our face, a mask in front of our face on a stick, and we're walking around holding this up all day. And at some point, we can do this for a while, but after a while, our arms are going to get tired.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you know when you're not being who you are at work, because when you go home at the end of the day, you're exhausted. You're physically and mentally exhausted. You know, I am a terrible, terrible person for dealing with conflict. I just avoid dealing with conflict all the time. I want to just see everyone get along and be happy and make it all work. I guess that's why I care so much about figuring out fit, because then I can avoid conflict if we get fit, right?
Right.
But, so if I had to fire somebody, that would physically affect me for days before I did it. And then if I did let someone, when they were finally let go and they had left the building, I'd feel like an enormous release has just come over me. That's when you know you're not being who you are at work.
That's huge. You know,
and I'm sure there's a lot of people listening who can go, "Oh my gosh, that's me."
Yeah, 100%. Well, I don't know too many people at all who enjoy conflict.
You just haven't met them yet.
Okay. Well, then I'm doing a good job with fit then. So one of the questions that I have, and I don't know if this is going to derail the conversation according to what we've been talking about, but one of the biggest things that I get is I don't know if I'm ready to hire yet. I don't know. People have a hard time with that, because hiring means growth, means a little bit of, I'm kind of scared. I don't know if I have the time to do this right. I don't know if I have the time to invest in this person correctly. I don't know if I'm financially ready. I wonder, is that too far of a departure from this conversation today?
Well, now again, we're talking about, it's interesting because if we understand who you are, we can certainly talk a conversation around building a coaching performance track to help you get over that. Because you might, when you just start describing, if you have a fear of growth, yeah, you might be more the technician than the leader.
And
there's nothing wrong with that, right? It's all about fit. See, right now we're getting real interesting. We've got a lot of people right now who are managers of people, and they all came into an office or they all came into a building, and you got the managed people. And now these people are working outside and they're working remotely. And all of a sudden, all the things that made you a really good manager don't work, because you now have to lead people that you can't really have together and have those. It's a whole different environment. Dynamic, right? And there's some people who are really great fit for this new dynamic, and there's some people who are really great fit for the old model. Now, I can help somebody recognize what they need to do and what behavioral modification they need to make, but I can't get them to do it.
Gotcha.
And right. And so if someone wants to grow their business, if they're sitting back and they have a fear of growing their business, they need to stop and sort of really, I believe they need to stop back and understand, what is it that I'm afraid of? And if they are someone who's risk adverse, which is not a good or bad thing, don't hear judgment in that, because there's an awful lot of successful people who are risk adverse. That's why they're successful. They use it as a strength. You know, it's amazing. If you could just tap into who you are and turn them into the strengths that drive your day 75% of the time, imagine how much easier life would be. Build a business around who you are. By the way, that, Jamie, leads to when you're hiring that second person, don't build the business for what you need. Build that role for what you need, and then fill it for that need. Because you're not the one who's going to change for your employee.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's so. Okay. Is there a way of measuring how a person fits into different roles?
Oh, yeah. Well, Jobtimize is the first place you could go to find out what's the right different roles for you. On the other side, we have a tool we use. We have a couple different tools, but one of the ones that I really enjoy showing people is Talent Sorter. And that's a whole hiring process where you can bring people in. And if I collect the data, I can then cross-reference them against your whole database of roles in your org chart and say where you'd be a good fit based on who you are. Not necessarily on education and work experience, but with the who you are. So if if you are someone who's more of a fit for, hey, doing this kind of stuff, being, talking and sharing ideas.
That's what I love.
Right. Okay. So then and then you put someone who's that type of person, and you now put them in an environment where they have to work in an office with the doors closed all day. They got to focus on projects and run analytical numbers. I'm not saying they don't have the skill set to do it. I just think at the end of the day, they're going to be physically exhausted.
It's going to be holding that sign up, and it's
holding the sign up.
Yeah.
See, it's funny. It all goes back to that. It goes back to holding up the sign. It goes back to the mayonnaise jar.
It does.
I can teach you to do the accounting.
And talking about past history, I was in corporate America for 12 years. It took me 11 years to figure out how to get out of corporate America. I'm a slow learner. But I finally got out, and I'm proud to say I'm extremely proudly unemployable. I'm very proud of saying that. But one of the things, I had a nickname at one of my jobs in corporate America, and they called me JT for Jamie Time. And the reason why they call me Jamie Time, my numbers were always there. I always did well. I performed well, but I hated going to the meetings. I hated with a passion. I dreaded waking up early on Monday mornings because we had to go in a little bit earlier for our meetings. It was the bane of my existence for that job. And I would just kind of show up when I would, hopefully closer to the end of the meetings. And so they called me JT, Jamie Time.
Jamie Time.
And I just didn't fit. I didn't fit into that whole thing. And I remember I had a malt block pen, all the people, the sign, you always had the fancy pen. To signify my last day in corporate America, I threw that pen in a river. That's what I did. And I was like, I'm free of this. I'm free of it. And now I show up in t-shirts, no suit and ties. I have whatever pins laying around. Like, that's fine with me. But it's funny how what you said brought up that memory for me. And I would hope that anybody that's seeking a position or seeking to fill a position can approach it with the same level of comfort that I seem to maintain now, as opposed to earlier in my career when I just didn't fit. It just didn't, man, I was carrying multiple signs, man.
Well, and for young people who are first coming right out of school and have been told all around them that they need to be a certain person, and to get out there, right? They need to know, they need to more than ever need to be aware of who they are, because don't expect the employer to be always as concerned about fit as they should be. I mean, the corporate America is getting there, but there's still an awful lot of, I just need 10 people, I need them now. And if I don't want to have to train them, so I'll hire people who have the skill, and I won't worry about the other stuff until later.
This is an expensive decision right there.
Oh, and well, when you said sales, I mean, how many times, you're going to hire a salesperson, you're going to put him on straight commission, you convince himself, well, it doesn't really matter if he's that successful, I'm paying him on commission. So if he doesn't sell, I don't have to pay him. So it's not going to cost me anything, except it probably cost you 2 years of business and burning a whole bunch of leads.
Easy. Or not to mention, your reputation. You got to think about reputation management, all of that stuff.
See, now you're getting the whole other part again, is the people out there are going to be representing your brand. And those are going to be things that so one of if you want to summarize it up as where you need to go on two sides. One side, the employer, you need to understand what your brand is, and the brand employee story. Who are the people who represent your brand, and what is it that we need to be measuring to find people to represent your brand? If you don't have an employment brand that's defined, don't worry, your employees created it for you. Because you have one. So you got the employment brand. And when if you can define your employment brand, it makes it a lot easier to find people who fit your employment brand. It's funny, I can think of a lot of companies right now. If I name those companies, you can picture whether or not you would be a fit for that kind of job or not. Right? If I say IBM, you got a certain image of what an IBM person looks like. If I said McDonald's, you got a certain image of what a McDonald's, and those are employment brands. Do you
Yeah.
know who I think has the most powerful employment brand in the world?
Who?
Is a little company and a little organization that most people never even think of. But when I say the name of this organization, every single person watching this is going to know whether they fit that organization or not. That group would be called the Hells Angels.
Hmm.
They are amazing at employment brand.
They really are.
Okay, so not all companies are as good as that on branding. So of the employment, you might know the brand of the product, but you may not know what the employment brand is.
Gotcha. It's
Now,
a
on the
really,
so
it's a
everyone's got to think of this through both sides.
so they can go to Jobtimize.
Go to jobtimize.com and find out what they're a good fit for in the type of work. And by the way, one of my favorite things in there is we even put a new section in where it actually shows you jobs of yesteryear, jobs that don't exist anymore that you would have been a good fit for if you want to have some fun.
Oh, really?
Yeah, be careful. You might find out you should have been working in a bowling alley as a pin setter, and they don't have those jobs anymore. But you go to Jobtimize as a job seeker. It'll give you an opportunity to find really is what kind of work is a really good fit for you. And it'll actually give you insight into why it's good work for you and what the areas about the who you are at times might be challenges in that kind of work. And
okay. And then
employers can go to talentsorter.com and they can actually start profiling their existing teams and their existing people so they can understand what fit in their organization should be.
So you can actually plug in your existing org chart, in essence, and then as roles open up or as needs arise, you can base it off of that org chart and knowing what you need to look for going forward.
So I'm going to go on the assumption that, Jamie, in your business, you have an awful lot of clients that you place virtual assistants in.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So we've got Sally, and different organizations are going to have different cultures. You and I together, we can build a system where people can actually go in line and we can find out which culture Sally fits best with amongst all your clients.
Oh, my
there's
God.
your org chart.
Wow. That's huge. I have to say, some of the biggest things that I talk to when I talk to all these different clients and the staff as well, but from the client's perspective, there's three things they're really concerned about: whether or not they know that they're ready to hire, who to hire, and how they think that they can trust this person. It's a distant relationship. We call them a new category, distant assistants.
Distant assistant.
So and then the third thing is how do they know they're not going to leave in 6 months? That's a big concern.
Well, and the leaving is going to happen for it can happen for various reasons that are uncontrollable. So you focus on the ones you can control. And if this is an individual that's working with you and they have a need to feel connected and part of an organization, then you got to provide them with that need and that feeling that they're needed and they're valued. There's going to be other people that are going to be motivated purely by the compensation, because the work is just merely a means to being able to do other things in their lives that are really important. None of these people are good, bad, right, or wrong. They're just different. The problem is sometimes is that we don't always understand. We think everyone's going to be motivated the same way.
I love this. At what point, before we wrap here, we're getting close to the half hour. At what point, actually, we're at the half hour. At what point does someone need to be Timimized?
To be Timimized, well, it's interesting. I'm a big believer in people need to try this stuff. And the first place you can go to Jobtimize, and if anyone wants to reach out to me, you can reach me through LinkedIn at linktotim.com. That takes you straight to my LinkedIn page. And you can also reach me through any of our other companies, but that's probably the easiest way to connect together. You can go to talentsorter.com and click a button, and it'll end up eventually somewhere, ending up close to me. But there's a few people here that'll be picking those up. Please, reach out. But let me make the obvious that right now you can go to jobtimize.com and you can go and experience our science, experience the work we do, and see what you learn there, and then talk to us through there, or talk to us through Talent Sorter. TalentSorter.com is a place where employers, which is our hiring tool for small, medium, large size business. So
I love it.
And it's and the way it works. Oh, and hey, I got last closer for you. I got another freebie for you. Anyone out there that needs to do references and reference checks. So right behind me in the middle, I want to introduce to you referencechecker.com. So reference getter. So I should get my name right, eh? Referencegetter.com. So at referencegetter.com, you can actually go online, set up the job you're hiring. It sends an email to the candidate and says, we'd like to get the references. The candidate goes online, fills in a document with the reference contact information, and the relationship. The system then sends a questionnaire to the reference to complete, and it all comes back to you in a nice little deck on a dashboard for you. And referencegetter.com is a free service.
Holy cow. That's amazing. Well, I'm going to go to referencegetter.com today. Tim, is there anything else you'd like to say before we wrap? Maybe some parting words of wisdom, or something for either the job seekers or the people seeking to fill a position that you can leave them with?
Right now, I would say it is things are changing, and they're changing quickly in business and for employees. If things weren't going well, everything just got sped up 5 years. Now it's really not going well. If your business or your role was expanding and there were plans to do things in the next 5 years, it's all happening now. Everything is moving rapidly, and things are changing. If you are one of those people who are out there and you're finding that you've got time and you're stopping to reflect, and you're thinking about what you want to be doing next, and am I going the right route? Because things are changing. That's where it's time to take a look and maybe take a little stock and understand as much as you can about what it is that makes you happy, what it is that really is important to you, what do you value, and put your emphasis and put your energy in understanding all the soft skills, the things that we those things that we never really have time to focus on. It's not just about the what you know. It really is also the who you are.
I love it. Man, Tim, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Jamie. It's a pleasure to have you call me and bring me on again. This is wonderful.
This is fantastic.
Again sometime.
Oh my gosh, I would absolutely love to. So out of respect for your time and our listeners, our viewers that are watching this, we'll go ahead and wrap up. But can you hold on one quick second?
Sure, I'm here.
Thank you,
Thanks
Tim.
again, Jamie.
Thank you. Hey, Tim Brennan, unbelievable. So Tim is the Chief Visionary Officer of Fit First Technologies International. You can go to referencegetter.com. You can also go to linktotim.com to learn more about him. Fitfirsttechnologies.com. I know this is a lot, but if you're a job seeker, go to jobtimize.com, where Tim is the Tim of Jobtimized, and take the assessment there. And if you are looking to fill a position, go to talentsorter.com. Again, we've been speaking with the one and only Tim Brennan. We talked about finding your next right thing, or your right next thing, with Tim Brennan. And it's just been fantastic chatting with him. I am totally into this. I love HR. I love trying to find the right person, in this case, the right fit. And so I think it's perfect. If you have any questions at all, please let me know. I will forward them off to Tim there. And I'm super excited and pumped that Tim was able to join us today. I do want to have a quick announcement. The Home Service Super Summit.com. If you are in the home services industry, please go, and it's a free for what we're doing is we're trying for a Guinness World record. We're trying to make an attempt for the largest attended virtual summit. Now, I'm supporting Brandon Vaughn in this, and I'm going to be speaking Friday at 4:15 in this summit, along with some of the most amazing people, some of whom you might know, Mike Michalowicz, Brian Scudamore, Michael Gerber, the author of E-Myth Revisited. Go check out homeservicesupersummit.com. Sign up today for anything in the service industry. Again, my name is Jamie J. I am the CEO and founder of Bottleneck Virtual Assistants. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you to Tim Brennan for joining us. And thank you for allowing us into your place of business or your home and helping you stop the bottleneck in your business. Without any further ado, we'll go ahead and wrap it up today. Have a fantastic day. Stay safe. Stay healthy.